Well, the Free State Project is about 10 years old now. It was an idea that I had when I was a graduate student. But the idea is to get libertarians, market liberals, people who believe in freedom, to move to a single state of the U.S. And achieve political change there. And we ended up choosing the state of New Hampshire. So now several hundred people have moved to New Hampshire so far and are working in the political process for greater freedom. Several of them have gotten elected to the State House. But beyond that, they've worked with the local politicians, the ones who are good, who are pro-freedom. They've worked with them to get them elected, and they've accomplished a lot of things. We've gotten on the economic freedom side. This year, the state legislature is cutting the budget by about 10%. It's a very large cut in state spending, cutting state taxes. While the Democrats were in power a couple of years ago, Free Staters lobbied heavily for same-sex civil unions, for legalizing marijuana, and the legislature did pass a bill to legalize medical marijuana. It was vetoed by the governor, unfortunately, but they just passed it again, so we'll see if they can pass it over the governor's veto. So there are a number of different policies where we're seeing New Hampshire, which is already a relatively free society, becoming even freer. And we think that that will be an example for the rest of the nation and for the rest of the world.
I can easily see how people can get excited about this idea. Is there a downside? Is there something to regret?
Well, it's certainly a high-cost investment for somebody to pick up and move to New Hampshire for freedom, right? That's, in a sense, it's a radical idea, but it's also exciting. And what we have now is a large community of people. They settle wherever they want within the state in local communities, people with families, single people. We have all sorts of people who are involved, but it's also a community in itself. We have regular meetings there. People just get together all the time, and it's a very sociable and fun environment. If you're around people for the first time who believe in individual responsibility, in free exchange, people who share the same values as you, it's very empowering, it's very exciting.
You mentioned that this may be an example for other states in the Union, but also abroad. Do people from abroad approach you asking for information or for...
They do. In fact, some people have even moved from abroad to New Hampshire. You know, that's much more difficult for them to do, but some have been able to do that. So some are interested in getting involved, and others are interested in copying the idea where they live. So I've talked to people from both Mexico and the European Union who have been trying to do similar sorts of projects in their countries. They're much less far along than we are, but I certainly wish them well.
And you're now participating in the Future of Free Cities conference. And how does this project fits with Free Cities?
Right. Well, the idea is that by creating examples of free cities or free states, free regions that are examples for the world, we can show how our ideas work. And we can also create competition so that other governments have to respond to the incentives set up by these free zones, so to speak, where businesses can go to produce and hire workers and pay much less in terms of taxes, in terms of regulatory burden. And other governments are going to have to respond to that. The idea is to create competition among governments that forces them to acknowledge greater freedom. And that's something that the Free State Project can do by making New Hampshire even more free.
And you have mentioned libertarians. Is this for libertarians? I mean, this idea of free cities, this idea of moving to a state and...
I don't think it's just for libertarians. I think, especially at the very local level, there's something in this idea for everybody. Even if you think that there should be a very robust community that enforces certain standards on everyone in your community, you can achieve that much better if you are with people of like mind, right? So if you're trying to impose that vision on a very diverse society like the entire United States, you're going to get a lot of opposition, and rightly so. But if you do it consensually, voluntarily, with people who join together in a town or a city or even a neighborhood to implement those ideas, that's all to the good. I don't think anyone would have any complaint about that. And so we want to show this idea of decentralization, of local empowerment, is something that everyone from libertarians to socialists can learn from and can support.
And wouldn't this lead to ghettos, for example?
Well, ghettos aren't, the first thing I would say about that is that ghettos aren't always bad. Sometimes they are the best response for an unpopular group or even a persecuted group to support themselves and to support each other. Sometimes that's their response to a hostile society. But more importantly, I would say that this does not lead to ghettoization because these free cities, these free societies would be trading with each other. There'd be commerce, there'd be free movement of people, free entry and exit. So ultimately, it's about individual empowerment. It's about you being able to choose the kind of society you want to live in. Right now, we can't do that. You can vote, but you're going to be outvoted by millions of other people. So the only way that you can, as an individual, empower yourself and ensure that you are living the kind of life that you want to lead is by being able to choose the types of society that you want to live in, the type of laws you want to follow.
And finally, if someone approached you and asks, Jason, can you give me some basic readings somewhere where I could go to learn more about this, what would you recommend?
Okay, well, some readings that I particularly enjoy on this topic would include Robert Nozick's Anarchy, State, and Utopia. The third section of that book is a discussion of little utopias within a broader society that simply protects people's rights. And beyond that, people can form these little societies of common interest. I would also recommend, if you're interested in the Free State Project, the Free State Project website, which is freestateproject.org. I am also very interested in the literature on competing governments. And some of that you can find in the scholarly literature in the writings of people like Barry Weingast, who have looked at something called market-preserving federalism, with the idea being that local jurisdictions compete for capital, compete for labor, and in doing so become more efficient.
Well, thank you very much for sharing these ideas with us. And thank you too.